tourism comes from the Hebrew word Torah, which means education, teaching, or law. It was also derived from the Old Saxon term torn, which means living with the aim or return, while the word hospitality was derived from the Latin words hospes, which means both visitors and strangers.
Where, when, and how did the tourism and hospitality in the Philippines started? Tourists are people who travel for various purposes such as trading, business, religion, and leisure. In the late 19th and early 20th century, there is an increase of immigrants from Europe and the United States, which helped the country's tourism sectors to thrive. Philippines is one of the greatest places to visit in Asia, gaining the name of Pearl of the Orient Seas. Popular journey in this era was visiting the Church of Our Lady of a Peace and Good Voyage in Antipolo. This is for the purpose of seeking the Virgin's blessings and protecting during the month of May. Quiapo heading to the Cainta, Taytay, Antipolo using hammocks carried by crews of men or by horse-drawn carriage. After the pilgrimage, some visitors would go to bath in the nearby waterfalls known as Hinulugang Taktak.
When it comes to transportation, Lawrence Nelson, a New Zealand-born businessman, established the country's first civilian airports in 1937, establishing civil aviation in the country. In 1941, Philippine Airlines, the first airline that established and was inspired by the rise of civil aviation. In addition, during the time the country's road system were not extensive, local travel was very limited and difficult. Only Baguio and Taal Volcano were developed for tourism. In 1950, Philippine Tourist and Travel Association was established as a private initiative to promote the Philippines as a major travel destination, year when the second wave of tourism influx flourished but declined during the dictatorship era. Modesto Parolan recognized the possibilities of tourism. He was the country's first consul general in Hawaii. He founded the Philippine Tourist and Travel Association, launched its business producing and handing out brochures about the Philippines and the Manila Hotel.
1956, the Philippine Congress created the Board of Travel and Tourist Industry. In 1960, the government began keeping records of the numbers of visitors arriving in the country. 1973, the DOT was divided into two departments that led to the creation of Department of Tourism by President Ferdinand Marcos. 1986, the Department of Tourism was reorganized under President Corazon Aquino's Executive Order 120 and 128. The Philippine Convention Bureau was renamed the Philippine Convention Visitors Corporation. The country was able to rise again only in 1991 and 1992. When 1.2 million visitors visited the Philippines. After a decade, it began to decrease again as a result of government corruption. The greatest significant boost to tourism came from local civil aviation, which began in 1990. Low-cost airlines began to appear, and more local airports began to accept international flights. 1998, the Department of Tourism played a key role in culmination of the centennial celebration of Philippines' independence from Spain.
By 1999, nation had attracted 1.9 million visitors. This is due to the Department of Transportation decision to launch a marketing campaign. In 1994, the Department of Transportation launched its first campaign, Fiesta Island, Philippines. In 1999, they launched a new campaign dubbed Wow Philippines. 2003, under Secretary Richard Gordon, the Department of Tourism launched one of its most successful tourism promotion projects. 2009, the passage of Republic Act No. 9353, also known as the Tourism Act of 2009, resulted in improvement in the country's tourism industry. 2012, the tourist sector prospered for the third time under the tagline, "It's more fun in the Philippines." 2013, South Koreans visited the country in total number of 1.17 million. Americans, Japanese, Chinese, Australians, and Taiwanese were next. Tourism rose tremendously in 2015 with 5,360,682 international million tourists recorded.
Characteristics were passed down to pre-colonial Filipinos through Malay culture. Teodoro Agoncillo, a well-known Philippine historian, wrote in his book, History of the Filipino People, that hospitality qualities were inherited through Malayan traditions. The Malays, headed by the sovereignty of a Datu, were recognized as the first to migrate and settle. Most of the Filipinos' basic characteristics were formed in small communities known as barangays. The Church of Our Lady of Guadalupe in what is now Makati was used to be like taverns and inns that were managed by religious groups.
In 1960, the country was able to attract 51,000 tourists. A few international hotel brands took notice and chose to enter the market. The Sheraton and Hilton were the first to open in 1968, followed by the Intercontinental in 1969. 1973, in anticipation of the growth in visitors' number, more hotels and resorts began opening in Manila and a few key provincial cities. Among them were international brands such as the Holiday Inn, Hyatt, the Peninsula, and the Mandarin Oriental Philippines. It is almost likely not the cuisine or location they visited, but the people's hospitality.